for you. And the really cool, exciting thing is you're going to see part of this now, but you're going to hear lots of it later. We have right now 109 classrooms from all across GLDSB logging in virtually to watch us. Right. So it's going to be very exciting. And at exactly 10 o'clock, we are going to go live out to all of those classes, and you get to be the live studio audience. So you have a really important role to play, and that's why I wanted to take a second to talk to you now before it starts, because your role is super important, right? So what do you think some of those things might be that we're going to ask of you for the hour while we are recording and sending this out to all the classes across the board? Yes, what do you think? Listening, that's right. And do we just listen with our ears, or do we listen other ways too? How else do we listen? Yes. With our eyes? How else do we listen? With our body, that's right. And so could somebody show me what really great listening looks like with our eyes and our ears and our bodies? Amazing. Are you showing? Love it. Thank you. If you need to use the washroom during that hour, it's okay. Make eye contact with your teacher. There's 2 doors that are open. So if you're sitting on this side of the room, you're going to get up and sneak out. You're going to go out that door. And you're going to go down this hallway, and the washrooms are just right there on the right-hand side. And for my friends on this side, do you think you'll use that door? What door will you use? That's right, because all the recording is happening right here. My friend Chris, can you wave to us? So Chris is our digital guru today, and he is the producer of this whole live show. He's got cameras set up for us. There's a camera there, and there's a camera over there, and we're going to be using our phones as cameras as well, and this is where all the action is going to happen, okay? So you're going to want to keep your attention in this area, but we also want to make sure we're not in the middle of all of that too today, okay? Any other instructions we need to give these kiddos? I'm so excited you're here. So before we go, we're going to do some formal introductions when we have our live audience, but you got to meet some of our friends who are here today. And we're going to be inviting you to participate in some singing and in some dancing today. And so I asked your teachers to identify a few folks who were willing to be those dancers. Could we get those dancers to stand up now? You're the ones who've been chosen to be the dancers. Amazing. So we're going to give you a rattle. Kelly, let's give these, and you're just going to hold on to them. And towards the end of the presentation this morning, Elder Stock is going to ask for those folks who are participating in the stomp dance to get up and come out here and join him. And that's going to be your cue to come out here, right? And then when we stop recording, we're going to do it again and everybody can participate. Okay? Does that sound all right? I love it. So once those friends have rattles, we also have some rattles that other students can use to, as we sing along and as we play along. So we're going to give you some of those rattles too to hang on to. Good. Okay, you guys can sit down. Thank you. That's great. You want to hand some of those out now and they can just hang on to them. So we're just going to hand out rattles to a few other students so that you're not going to come out. You're just going to stay sitting, but you can play that rattle when it's time at the end of the performance today. If you would like one, you can take one. Just remember, while we're doing all this learning and teaching for the first portion, should you be playing that rattle? No. So keep it just in front of you. Keep it quiet. Fantastic. Yeah, we'll get you one because I think there's some more over here. All right, now, do you have any questions for us before we start? Knowing you're this live audience, in a minute or two, we're going to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going live. No questions for us? Amazing. All right. I know, they're waiting on all of those questions.
Just remember we had a talk this morning about relationships, and another relationship in our life is that of an audience member. You have a relationship with the people that you are watching, as well as a relationship with the people that are watching live. Think about what they need to receive from you out of that relationship. If we're wiggling and being silly, are we honoring the people who are presenting to us today, or who have to watch virtually, aren't lucky enough to be in here with us? So we talked about give and receive. So that relationship of being a good audience means that you need to give, and you will receive today, we promise.
I'm going to small one. Back for a second. We are like 3 minutes to the coverage. Very exciting.
So we'll give you a little bit of time to have a chit chat. When you hear the rattle start, that's when we need to, because we're going live.
Minnow Kashep, everyone, and bonjour to all of our students who are here today, and to everybody out there watching us across Trillium Lakelands District School Board. We are so excited that you are here joining us today. There are over 2,200 students watching us across TLDSB today. Woo! This is really exciting. So I want to start by saying Ani, Bosho, Sego, Holly, and Vichnikov, it's lovely to be here, and I want to introduce you to some friends who are here today and present some tobacco, and then we're going to turn it over to a few others who are going to share with us this morning. So first, Ms. Moore, for you. This is, to you. So this is Kelly Moore, and Kelly is one of the 5 of us who are now on the Indigenous education team. Come on over, gentlemen. Knowledge holder Larry O'Connor, who will introduce himself in a few minutes as well. Miigwech for being here. Mm-hmm. Elder Christopher Stock, miigwech for being here. Yawa. And Skawbewis Monokami, who is here from Wissahickon. Miigwech for being here. Awesome. So we have a really exciting hour planned for you. And I'm going to turn it over to Kelly. So excited you're here.
Good morning, Minnow Gijagap. I'm Kelly Indigenous Cause. Most of my students out there, good morning, would know me as Mrs. Moore. I'm taking on a different role this year, and I'm so excited to be here. So I have a few jobs today. My first job is to talk to you at home watching virtually from the classrooms. Good morning to you. The live feed is open, YouTube or Google Meet. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment boxes there. Any questions with regards to the learning or future learning after the cameras go off, but also any tech questions, we have somebody manning the chat pods to make sure that we can solve any tech issues live as well. My second responsibility was to talk a little bit about Orange Shirt Day, Day of Truth and Reconciliation, why we're here. I want to begin by saying Chi Miigwech, big thank you. As I look around the room here, and I know what's happening out there, I see orange. I see orange everywhere. And are we ever lucky that a woman named Phyllis chose to share her story with us so that we could use it as an opportunity to learn and to grow? I want to thank all the students that are here and the educators and all the students and educators out there who are joining us for keeping the idea of that spirit where it belongs, in our heart. We have a lot of spirit days at school. This one belongs in here. The last thing I need to talk to you about is the idea of multi-generational learning. You will notice there's a variety of ages sitting here in our live audience. Out there, I know there are our earliest and youngest learners, 3 years old, just can't wait to turn 4 years old. We also have our eldest learners out there, our grade 12s, who just can't wait to be done school and move on. When we gather in community, we gather with everyone, from our youngest to our eldest, and we hear stories over and over and over again. And each time those stories are shared, we get something different from it, a different gift, a different message from Creator. So I'm going to ask every one of you, from our youngest learners, good morning kindergartens, to our oldest learners, let's change our focus from what we don't need out of today to what we do need. I'd like you to listen for what you do need today. And I'm going to pass it off to Sherry. She's going to give us a message as well.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Sherry Telford, and I'm also part of the Indigenous Education team. I'm so happy to see those of you here in person and out there in the virtual world. Welcome. I'd like to begin by starting off by reading the school board's land acknowledgement. You may have seen it before at assemblies or in your classes. You may have heard it over the announcement. I'm going to start by reading it, and then I'm going to say a few words about it. So here it is. Listen for words that are new to you or that aren't familiar, or maybe ideas, if you will. Trillium Lakeland's District School Board, as a learning organization, acknowledges that we learn, live, and work on the traditional lands and waters of the Ojibwe Nation, the Huron-Wendat Nation, and now includes communities from the Mohawk Nation, the Potawatomi Nation, and the Métis Nation of Ontario. Under the One Dish with One Spoon Treaty, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe peoples agreed to share and care for these lands and waters for generations. We acknowledge their stewardship over the years. Lots of words and lots of good learning in that land acknowledgement. I'll share something I've learned over the years, and that is that we want to get ourselves to a place where we know this. We know whose land we are on and whose lands and waters and who have cared for these lands since time immemorial. We know it because we've read it in the land acknowledgement. We know it because we've built relationships and we've been learning like we're going to be doing today. And eventually we want to get to a point where we speak it from the heart. So we use this land acknowledgement that's written kind of like we use the alphabet. You keep referring back to it until you can make your own words. And when you do make your own words, I'd encourage you to speak from the heart Think about what you love about these lands and waters where we live and grow and study. Okay? Is it the paddling? Is it the swimming? Is it hunting and fishing? Maybe it's because it's been in the family for so long. Whatever it is, speak from there first. Give thanks to that first and acknowledge the territory that we're on and how it is that we came to be here today. Miigwech. Oh dear. Next up we have, I forgot about this piece. Next up we're going to be beginning, right? Sorry. So I'd like to welcome Skawbewis, Dave Rice to start. Sorry, Dave. Okay, I'll pass it on to you.
Bonjour. I'd like to say miigwech to the two quads there that acknowledged what we're going to learn today. Okay, I'm going to say my name in my language. This is partly what it's about. To acknowledge our Anishinaabe language, our Oklahoma language, our Métis culture, language, teachings, songs, dancing, and all that's going to be taught here today as best we can, as little time as we get. We're in a time limit, I guess. So I say hi to all the virtual people. Some of them I've met. I've been around to some of the schools. So I'm going to say my name in my language. Like I said before, I'll give you a chance to laugh once, but that's the last time you'll laugh at my language. Because I never knew this language I speak. When I first started school at kindergarten, I knew my language. That was the first language I had, Anishinaabe. So I never knew this language. This is a second language to me. So that's part of the journey that I've come in the last years, many moons, and my ancestors who were sort of coerced into learning a language that wasn't theirs. So we look at that, say, Bojo, Menakami Dijinakaz Makwat Dodan, Wasaksan the Bijwa, Jibwe and Da, Potawatomi and Dow. I'll go right into a prayer and I'll explain that. How miigwech kajemnado gavajai non gun, Kenegego Gazatstawan, miigwech for Shomas Jesus Gavajai non gun, miigwech Nokmas Tavigas Gavajai non Bakik. Miigwech Kakmi Kla Gavajai Bamadzawan, Gavajai Region, Gavajai Nasayak, Gavajai Nabish, Mima Niswan. Sama Gadabn and Giwad known, Wabianan, Zhao known, Mima Ashbaminyan. Nadamo Shin Gamostia, Mima Gamostia. So, that was a Anishinaabe language and a prayer to honor the life that we have here today. So my name is, it's a spirit name, Menakami. We're born with that. We're born even before we came to creation. We're spirits. These things that we talk about today, about the ones that have gone on to the spirit world, our ancestors. So the spirits that we think about have been living for thousands of years in time immemorial. My name talks about my life here on the creation and my clan, which is the Bear clan. But that prayer talks about the giving thanks to the grandfather son, which is a teacher to all the men and the boys here. Because we carry a fire here in our bodies here. And to acknowledge the women as well, to the grandmother moon, the teacher to all the women. Then we give thanks to the one in the eastern doorway, where that life comes from. We've been gifted by life here. Every one of us was given the gift of life here today. To honor that and make the decisions we make are going to ultimately be what happens later on in our lives today. So we give thanks for that, but we give thanks for the kindness, to be kind to ourselves, so we can be kind to others. To acknowledge that deer that's there. So we give thanks for that. We also give thanks to all that life, that Mino Bamadzwan, the good life. Then we look to the south, where some of you young people are slowly transitioning to 12, 13, to becoming a youth, to find the direction, guidance, the gift of the vision, that you see yourself doing something in a 10 to 15 years from now. You have that gift. And some of these young people have that gift already. They already know what they want to be. They vision that. It's like these teachers you see here. They visioned that when they were children. They wanted to be educators. They wanted to make it a better place to learn. That's why they became teachers. So it takes a lot to become a teacher. So we give thanks for it, but the truth and honesty to be true to yourself. So be true to others and your family. So we give thanks for that. But we give thanks to our ancestors. Like, since time immemorial, our people have walked on this creation here. But as well, your ancestors, your last name exists because of your ancestors. I can't stress that enough. If they didn't go through what they went through, the wars, starvation, illnesses, your last name wouldn't exist today. So we have to honor our ancestors. If you have your grandparents, sit with them. If you have your great-grandparents, you're very lucky and fortunate to sit with them and acknowledge. They'll tell you who you are. We need to know who we are before we know where we're going. Nothing's going to hold you back once you know who you are. Nothing. No person. So we acknowledge that ancestors. Always acknowledging that spirit and the strength to stand up and speak that. But to acknowledge the one in the north where we get the healing today. Manado Makwa, the healer of all healers. He healed those spirits that have gone on to the spirit world, but also those residential school survivors that are still survived today, who sit in that home, some of them, who are shut-ins. So we acknowledge them and send our prayers and good thoughts to them, that they have hope today, that things will change. We're in a place right now where we're walking together in healing. This isn't about pointing fingers or being, it's about us healing together, walking together. Like that wampum belt speaks to, two different canoes. So we acknowledge the goodness and the love and the kindness and all those teachings. So we give thanks to that Akikwa, the Mother Earth, who gives us all this life, the water, the air, the trees, the animals, the fire, the medicines, all those things that give us life today, that we acknowledge that. We acknowledge those beautiful gifts that we've been given today. So that's what that prayer talks about, but it talks about the Creator too. God, Buddha, the Great Spirit, whatever it may be to you. That's what it speaks to. We acknowledge that. And we give thanks for this Mino Bamazawan, this good life today. That I was gifted again with life here. So we honor that. We honor that woman who lost that shirt. There's a if you get a chance to look at the Nishnabek News on Google, you'll read about her story. She was in Niagara Falls. I read about it the other day. They say the falls are going to turn orange on September 30th. They're going to acknowledge that orange shirt. That is a big, significant thing for our people. Our journey here is going to, they believe, just as St. Clair said, it's going to take 2 generations for us to get well as a society. And it's up to the ones here and the ones in our community who are young to acknowledge this and to help heal it together. How's the Reader's Digest version of that prayer? Or Cole's Notes? So that's probably over your head, under your feet, but the older people know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I'd like to say welcome, Kinoweya. Chenandam Gibajain Minwa. It's good to be here. I'm glad that we're all here to help walk together here today. Miigwech, and we'll start. We'll start with the youngest guy here.
He's not young.
It's all relative. Hello, my name is Larry O'Connor. Hinaka Nadishnakas Bodawaitam Bay, Makwadodam, Halliburton Dunjiba, Shishigwaning Dunjiba. My parents had raised us down South Oshawa, and we were unaware of who we were. we knew we were kids. We knew we were the O'Connor kids. There was 10 of us that lived in the house. But we didn't realize that we had a connection that was greater. That being Métis, that being Odawa, and now I recognize that. And I've learned, my journey started after I finished school. In school, we didn't talk about whether or not we were Indigenous. We heard about the fur trade, and you'll see just in this hat alone, the beadwork in it, as an example. The Métis are known for their beadwork. This is called a smoking cap. The Métis women beaded it for their men so that they go outside and smoke, and they wouldn't have all that stink of the smoke when they came back in the house. The other thing and the significance of the bead as well, is that they were made from shells and different things. And it was part of the trade as well. And that the shell comes from the water. And the importance of water really is something that we all have in common. None of us can live without it. I have with me a sash. Now, I've got on my table over there's a few sashes over there. They mean different things, and they come from different areas. This here sash here was the same type of sash that my cousin, Luriel, wore. It was said that this sash he tied around some logs so that he could help assistance to swim across the Red River when he was fleeing, and he fled to North Dakota for many years after he stood up for the Canadian government. The Canadian government, they wanted to take the Indian out of the child. They wanted to separate us from our roots and our history. And they almost did it, but they didn't, because you're here as a testament. My friends here, they're here as a testament that they couldn't take that away from us. The sash itself is really kind of a neat thing. These tassels on the end, threads, when the Métis were traveling, every once in a while when you get out in the woods, you can have an accident and you need stitches. Well, you didn't have a doctor close by. You didn't go have an emergency room close by. So you got a couple of strands off of here and you stitched yourself back together again, and away you went on your paddling. So it's like a first aid kit. The other thing it is you can tuck things in there. Nowadays, probably somebody would tuck a cell phone in there just so they don't have to hide it. But they keep it close by. But so they would wrap it around several times, and it would actually support the back. So when they're doing some heavy lifting, they wouldn't get as tired with their lifting. The colors are really interesting. Now the red can represent the Red River, which is where the Métis really took a strong hold and brought Manitoba into Confederation under the leadership of Luriel and many other Métis. The other significance of the red is that's one thing that we all have in common. We all have that red blood that flows through our veins. So it's something that we have all in common. The green represents the forest. And so in the forest, all the trees, we can't breathe without the forest. The forest gives us oxygen. They're so important to our lives. Greenhouse gases, the whole climate change is happening. A good part of that is because we're losing trees. So we need to plant as many trees as we can. So trees are just so important. The yellow represents the wheat fields out west, the natural grasses. And so as they traveled out to where the buffalo were to hunt, they went through the wheat fields. The blue represents the waters. Just like the blue blankets we're sitting on here. The water is so important. And the Métis, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, they all recognize the significance of women as water carriers. That's very important. So we wear the color blue in our sash to represent that. The sky is represented in the white as well as the snow. So the clouds, all of that is part of our natural environment. All of it is something that's extremely important. You'll notice in people's regalia, the dress that they'll wear when they're out celebrating. There's quite often there's some beadwork. This here little drum I've got here, it's got some beans on it. And it's also got some twigs on it. And there's a bone in there with a little bit of hide on there. And you'd almost think that it's like a, if you ever got stranded, you could take that and throw it in a pot and you got some beans on the fly. But this here, it's how we used to adorn what we would wear as a regalia. Now we use beads. It's a lot easier to manage. The infinity, you'll notice on my ribbon shirt, there's an infinity symbol. Does anyone know what the infinity symbol means? Somebody knows what the infinity means. Right here, yeah. It keeps on going. So you'll see the Métis flag hanging up over there. The Métis flag is actually the oldest flag in Canada. It was brought over and given to the Métis, to the fur traders, and it represents the two unity. The Europeans that came over and the Indigenous people that were here, and the marriage between the two of them. And that marriage goes on and on. And really, that's what Canada needs to have happen. We need Canada to carry on that relationship like we see in the infinity flag. We need to carry it on and keep going around and around, never to be broken. So that's an important thing to remember. One thing that sometimes is overlooked, that the Métis, as First Nations and the Inuit, we all had family that went to residential schools. And so some of our stories and our traditions and our language, in my case, it'd be the Michif language, which I don't speak because it was something that was left and we didn't talk about it. So I have to learn that again. And so there's so many things we have to learn, but this generation, you're going to help that. You're helping with that teaching. So it's also important. And I think that's all I want to say, and I want to pass this on to Christopher. Or Dave. Oh.
Hey, this song goes for like 2 hours. So, you know what? Humor is good medicine. Feels good to laugh, right? Because at one time, all we could do was laugh our people. Because what was going on in our lives at the time for the past 500, 1,000 years, things we had no control over. I'll give you a little history. You know, we couldn't have lawyers to fight the system. When things were happening in our communities, when our kids were being taken, we couldn't get lawyers to fight the system. We couldn't, there was nobody there to help our people. There was nobody there to help the parents protect their children. The government at the time made sure that we had no right to have a legal representation. And that's not too long ago that they just opened that door for us as Native people, Indigenous people in Canada. Almost before I was born, that just happened. So these things are very fresh that we speak about. So we think about that, and we think about we honor that gift that came with that, because we learned something about that. We learned a lot about things that are happening in our lives today. It all connects. It's a circle. Like this circle speaks right here. This circle's never broken, and it hasn't been broken since time immemorial. All four colors of man walked on this creation together, and we're all given the same teachings we speak of here. If you look into your ancestry, you'll find these things. You'll find a fire, a drum. Because every culture had that. Every culture had that. It's how they communicated sometimes. So I'm going to sing a morning song. So when I'm done I get your shakers up. If you have a shaker, you can shake. But this shaker who was at the table there when I was talking? Remember what the shaker's about? Yes, this is shaped like Turtle Island. You know where Turtle Island is? Where? We're sitting on it. Even before there was a map, United States and Canada, this is what our people visioned. They could see this in their vision, even though we didn't have planes. We were very visionary people. So we could see the earth from above because we believe our spirits travel. So the ancestors seen how the continent looked like a turtle. That's why it was called Turtle Island. But it goes even deeper into that. There's a history of how creation was started. So that's just a little thing. If you want to learn more, get your teacher to come and take it, and we'll do a 4-day ceremony just to learn that. These things are just surface things that we speak of here because it takes a long time to learn, right? We do this all the time since we were kids. But this thing talks about giving thanks to this good life here. There's too many songs in my head. Ami gwachawe hade marze. Ami gwachawe hade marze. Ami gwachawe hade marze. Ami gwachawe hade marze. Okay, hold on for a second. When I start to yell, I want to hear you yell because the creation wants to hear your voice. This is about showing that we're alive here today. So we're giving thanks for that life. So when I start to say whoa, I want everybody to don't scream, but just go whoa. Okay, that's what we're gonna do with me. Okay. Everyone. Ami gwachawe hade marze. 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 Ami Gwachawe Hade Marade. Ami Gwachawe Hade Marade. Ami Gwachawe Hade Marade. Ami Gwachawe Hade Marade. Whoa, hey, 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 yeah, whoa, hey, 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 yeah, whoa, hey, 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 yeah, whoa, hey, 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 yeah. Karagana, can you say that? Karagana. That means all our relations. That means all the relations out there, but all the relations we're talking about here today. Oh, me Rich. Good singing.
No, go Jimmy Glitch. So how's everybody feeling right now? Pretty good? Excellent, excellent. So I'm going to introduce myself. Segum, Skanagogo, the Honadan Hayumjats, the Nawatanita Wagano, Magatsanuniti Wagumderhane. My spirit name is Dehonadanha, and what that really means is he is surrounded by the town. And it is a very old name, and I was very fortunate to receive this name. And I was very lucky to meet the namesake that passed that name on to me as well. What I'd like to do is I'd like to just talk a little bit about the meaning behind the one dish and one spoon treaty. I know it's in the land acknowledgement, but a lot of times we need a reminder of, okay, what does that really mean? So here's a short version of it, because it goes into great detail. First of all, what color is the belt?
White.
White. What do you think that color represents? Why would they use white to cover the whole belt?
Maybe to represent the clouds.
Okay, perhaps to represent the clouds. What's another reason why it would be a color white?
For a bowl.
The whole belt being white? But you're right about the center. That's the bowl. About being white. What color does white represent? Yes, sir.
Air.
Okay, it could represent air. What about you? Snow. Okay, those are all great ideas. Those all represent that color white. But in our wampum belts, the color white represents the river of peace, the color of peace. The dark color also represents the dark and troubled times where we once were. See, we never want to forget what happened. We never want to forget how it used to be. We never want to forget about the residential schools and what took place there. But what that color white also brings us to is to a place of healing where we can actually get along. And this one dish with one spoon was originally the Brotherhood Treaty between the Anishinaabe people and the Haudenosaunee people. They felt that this was such an important union, such an important agreement, that they decided that when they were gathered here, they were going to have one bowl in the center, carved wooden bowl. And in that wooden bowl was going to be beaver tails, because that was the delicacy of the time. And they made sure that nobody carried any sharp utensil or anything sharp at all on their person or near them, because they didn't want anybody to cause any harm to anybody when they were reaching into that bowl, or causing any bloodshed, because that would break the peace. So originally, they would eat with their hands, and each would take a turn eating from the same bowl. The Haudenosaunee probably sat on one side of the house, the Anishinaabe sat on the other side of the house. Tensions were pretty high because there was a lot going on at that time period. So that's why this belt is in white, to remind us of the peace,
of the friendship, of the camaraderie that we decided to have, to join together. In the center of that bowl, the white beads here, that's that 1 spoon. And that's with the European. We added the Europeans to this agreement so that we are all in agreement that we are all going to eat from the same bowl as friends, in peace and in harmony. And that's what this 1 dish with 1 spoon represents. And again, that's just a short version of it. Then we have another wampum belt. Who can tell me what this one is? I'm sure some people have seen this one before. Let's see.
The riverbanks.
That's part of it. Does anybody know the name of it? That's a good one. It is part of that. The river is in here. Okay. How many rows of purple beads do you see? 2 rows. So this is called the 2-row wampum belt. And again, the color white represents peace, friendship, harmony. The deep colored purple or blue beads, they represent the Europeans. That's their boat. That is their lives, their rules, the way of life, their beliefs. This one here, this ribbon, is our canoe as Ongwehumwe people. This is our way of life, our way of living, our beliefs. It says that we can travel down this river together in peace, in harmony, and coexist together. Never ever should we ever try to impose the other person's ideas onto them, because there's more than enough land here that we can live and coexist in peace together. That's the 2-row wampum belt. This is the original agreement between the Haudenosaunee, the English, the Dutch, the French, and later the Spanish. And that's still law today. And then we have this belt, same as the flag. Does anybody remember what that belt's name is or what it represents? How many can remember the story about the belt? Let's see what we can find out.
Part of the story, like it's all the different tribes, and then the middle is where they all meet up.
Yes, that is exactly correct. Okay, now let's see who can remember the names of the tribes that this belt represent. Let's see. Each square represents one nation. Let's try this one, okay?
One was the Mohawk Nation.
Exactly, very good. See, I knew you guys knew this. That's right. This one here on the east is the Mohawk Nation. What about the square beside the Mohawks? Oh, we got somebody way down here.
Anishinaabe people?
No, not on this belt. It wasn't the Anishinaabe people. That was a good guess, though. Yes, sir. No, not Potawatomi either. But a good guess. Okay, any questions from on our audience online? Okay, so now we have the Oneida people that live here. So we got Mohawks, we have Oneida. In the center then, we would have Onondaga, then the Cayuga, and then the Seneca. This belt is called the Hiawatha Belt. And the reason why it's called the Hiawatha Belt is because when Hiawatha was so grief-stricken, he couldn't lead his people, that he left his people, and he just traveled and walked through the bush, and he came to this shallow lake, and he asked the ducks and geese and all the waterfowl birds to, could you just please just, take some of that water away so I can continue my walk across here, God. So they did. And they said there was enough birds that when they flew off of that shallow lake, it was probably about knee deep where he was able to wade across the lake. And he noticed all these shells. So he would pick them all up. He didn't understand why he needed these shells or why he was even carrying them. But he just felt that he needed to carry them. And then he got to a place in the forest where he felt comfortable, and he sat down and he built a fire. And then he started to make these beads out of the shell, which is quahog shell. And we call them wampum. And he started to put some on a string. And he tied them to a stick. And every night he would say, if ever I found anybody whose heart was as filled with sorrow as mine is, whose eyes are so full of tears they can't see, whose ears are closed because they can't hear good things, and their mind is so clouded that they can't think, I would pick up these beads and I would condole them. And every night before he went to bed, he would say these words. And then one day, just as he was saying those words, the peacemaker just happened to come near and listened to what Hiawatha had said. That when he was finished, he walked into his camp, he picked up those beads, and he condoled the Hiawatha. And to this day, they still do that condolence ceremony. And that's what this belt represents, is that Hiawatha is telling the story about the peacemaker's journey and how he united 5 warring nations together under this one league of peace called the Great Law. Now, there's a big story about this, and this is just an introduction to this, is that, where was I going with this again? With that condolence ceremony that he did with Hiawatha, he instructed Hiawatha to record his journey. Again, the dark color represents the dark and troubled times that we once faced and where we were. The white represents the message of peace, power, and righteousness. And it connects us all together so that we can live together in peace and harmony. And never ever should we ever fight against each other ever again. And this is forever. Doesn't matter which way you flip that belt, it is forever, because it looks the same. So now, to help bring all of this together under peace and unity, I would like to share with you a little bit about the Unity Stomp Dance. This stomp dance represents that we're going to go across the earth and we're going to gather all of the colors of man, which are the 4 colors, the 4 main colors. The white, the yellow, the red, and the black. But now all our colors have been kind of mixed up, so now we're inviting all of those colors to come and join in our dance as well. And what this represents is that we're going to go and we're going to make sure that everybody on earth is a part of it. If we forgot somebody, we might have to back up a little bit and give them time to catch up. Okay, they caught up, so now we can go forward. Oh, did we forget anybody? Oh yeah, we did. So now we got to turn all the way around and give them a chance to catch up. Okay, they've caught up, now we can bring them back. And then once everybody's united, then we coil up tight like a snake, and if we can do it right, we can uncoil without breaking that circle, and we finish in a circle. And that's what today is all about. Unity, harmony, peace, love, friendship, and celebration. And the only way to get to that celebration is we have to come to a place of healing and get through condolence. And with that, I'm going to start with Unity Stomp Dance. Now, those of you that have already been chosen can line up behind me. Single file, and we'll try to keep the male and female energies together. So boy, girl, boy, girl. Hamba dimada, hamba hasa, hamba dimada, hamba hasa. We yane, we huyane, we yane, we huyane, we ne heya, we heya, we ne heya, we ne heya, we heya, ho ha ho. Howie hey ya ho ha ho, 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 howie ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, howie. Hamba dimada, hamba hasa, hamba dimada, hamba hasa. We ane, we huyane, we ane, we huyane, we ne heya, 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 we ne heya. And that's Unity Stomp Dance, and that's what we want. We want to hear that joy, that happiness, all of that laughter. Now it will. Now you guys can sit down.
We gotta take this chapter and something soon.
Very much. Hello, my name is Johnny Cash. Hello, I'd just like to say thanks for listening. Thanks for being attentive to acknowledge the gifts that you have. You know, all you young people carry gifts. You all carry knowledge. Ever since you were born, you started to learn about life. And your parents are teaching you about life. They're teaching you about how to respect yourself and everybody around you. These 7 grandfather teachers that we speak about have been in everybody's lives here. They may have been in a different place, but they're there. You look in the Bible, you'll see these 7 grandfathers. They're there too. So, you know, that is the understanding. They're there. So your parents have taught you those things. You've gained knowledge, and the teachers have given you knowledge too. But I also spoke about, when I was talking to some young people over here earlier, that your parents, your grandparents, and your teachers and all your friends have been giving you good things to carry in your bundles. All the good things that we try to fill our bundles with. not materialistic things. It's what feeds the spirit or your soul to help you walk on this creation. So if you have any questions, you can call my lawyer. No, joking. No, you can ask any question. There's no right or wrong question. You know, we're all here trying to learn. Like I learned from these two gentlemen here and the women here. We're all learning. We're all learning today. We're all learning about life and what this journey is to us and to the young people here. So whatever questions you have, this is a time to ask. And if you have more, then you can get your teacher to send those questions to Holly. But we're open for questions right now. So don't be shy. This is how we learn. This is how we learn about one another.
Relationship. You're in a good relationship. You should be able to ask questions and learn about one another.
Yes, so true. Our lives.
From our live audience?
Our lives are built on relationships. Think about it. When we woke up this morning, we thought, and our thought went to the Creator first, or God, or the Buddha, whatever it is to you. Our thought went there. Then somebody knocked on our door. So usually it's your mother, right? Trying to wake you up to go to school. Or your father, or your sibling. The next thing you know, the door's open, and if you got a kitten or a cat, the cat will jump up on your bed and say hello. Then you get out and you have a house dog, a little house dog will come up and greet you. 5 relationships. Then you start talking to your siblings or your parents. Before you even leave your home, you probably had 15 relationships. Then you can catch a bus, you go to the bus stop, and you see friends. Even if you don't say anything, nonverbal communication. You look at each other, acknowledge each other more. You get on the bus, you see friends. Even before you get to school, you might have had 50 relationships. Before you even step in that classroom. Then you see a teacher. Then you see your classmates. So by 10 o'clock, you might have had 150 relationships. That's just by 10 o'clock. And today, you probably had more. So our lives are based on relationships. And that's what we were talking about here. Building relationships with one another, healthy ones, so we can walk through this together. So we are done. So I'm going to sing a song. I'm the songbird of the north. Just kidding.
There's a question. Do we have time for a question?
Question, sure.
We just got one. Somebody from the live audience is wondering, what was that you were holding?
Oh, this year's. This year's Eagle fan. I used to dance with this when I'm a traditional dancer, which is a warrior dancer. You Google that, you'll see what kind of dancer I am. I wear a whole bustle on my back, but it represents what this bird saved civilization. I can give you a Reader's Digest version of that right now, but it'll take a few minutes. So Holly says, so if you want to learn that, ask your teacher to come and bring me into your classroom. But we honor this bird in high honor. These things that everybody carries here cannot touch the ground, because everything that my brothers and our women here carry, they're all sacred. And we teach them like we treat our own spirit. So none of these things will touch the ground, because they all have spirit. Everything that we wear here has a spirit. And everything you see on these tables has a spirit. So we believe that, and it helps us walk our journey here today. So that's what this does.
Good question.
Yes, that was a good question. You almost stumped me. Just kidding. Okay, I'm going to sing this off. But speaking about, that's a good question, because it comes right into what I'm going to sing. That Megazé song. This song says, Giwa Ma Megazé. Can you say that? Giwa Ma Megazé. I see the eagle. Ginon Wa Megazé. I hear the eagle. Jeep kana megaze. What is the eagle asking of me today? And what we believe is truth and honesty, to be true to ourselves, so we can be true to people in our lives today. And that bird will walk, that spirit will walk with us. It'll protect you on your way back to your school and back home to your families and your pets and your fish and the squirrels in your yard. Oh. I gave a little teaching to some people that are sitting over there, and I asked them where they heard this sound from. Because we all heard this. Every one of us in this room heard this sound before. And the young woman I was talking to her, she acknowledged what that was. Where is she? Oh, she's over there. She knew what it was. She said it came from her mother. Every one of us in here heard that. In that safe place. How? He was more magazine. He known war magazine. He cannot magazine. Way oh hey hey ho. 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 He was more magazine. He known war magazine. He cannot magazine. Way oh hey hey ho. 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 He was war magazine. He known war magazine. He cannot magazine. Way oh hey hey ho. 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 He was war magazine. He known war magazine. He cannot magazine. Way oh hey hey ho. 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 He was war magazine. He known war magazine. He could not magazine. Way oh hey hey ho. Whoa.
Okay, we have another great question. I know that's all it is.
Sure.
But this is a great question from our virtual land. Hello out there. When you are singing a song, why do you repeat the words so often?
Yes, every song that we sing in the Schnabel is sung 4 times to acknowledge his 4 directions, the 4 teachings, the 4 medicines, the 4 spirits, the 4 creation stories that are true, and we respect them all. So we acknowledge those spirits in those 4 directions. That's a really good question, because that's what we ultimately talk about, those 4 spirits that are helping us walk today. Now how?
On behalf of all of us, I just want to say a huge Chimigwech Nyalagoa to all 3 of you for being here today to teach us, to inspire us, and to remind us that we're all on this journey towards truth and reconciliation together. And to everybody here present at the Muskoka Education Center, and to all of our amazing viewers out there in your classrooms, we're so grateful you joined us. We can't wait to bring you more events like this. Thank you so much to everybody for being here today. Take good care. Bamapi, everyone.